Hey, it's Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We'll be here with you for the next couple of hours discussing local, regional, and national sports topics. So stick around. It's going to be fun. Wade, how's your Thursday?
Thursday's good, Mo, man. Good to be with you. Good to be with everybody. The birds are chirping. Ball's being played. I mean, it is a busy Thursday, and that's the beauty of the holiday on Monday, right? I mean, you are just kind of getting used to your regular week, and poof, it's already Thursday. Here we are.
There we go. Yeah, and it is it's pretty well gone by. That extra day, especially again as we were coming out of spring fling, that extra day to kind of catch your breath really kind of came in handy. So it's been good, and we are, I don't know if well rested is the right word, but at least we're kind of refreshed as we come down toward the weekend here. So excited to come to you here for the next couple of hours. In the second hour, we will be joined by MAREN ANGUS-COOMBS of softball on SI because the Women's College World Series started earlier today out in Oklahoma City. The Women's College World Series or the Sooner Invitation, depending on how you want to take a look at it. Texas and Florida were supposed to get things started today. I don't have a score in front of me, but by the time we get MAREN on to talk about the field and the tournament, we will have one. So, in fact, Tennessee and the host Sooners were to play at 1:30. I don't know if that one's gotten started or, again, I've not checked because I've been watching the Braves and Phillies. Probably
Tennessee up 2-0 early in this game. It looks like.
Ooh,
Lady Vols.
There we go. That's a good start for the Lady Vols. Absolutely. But yeah, we'll be talking to MAREN more about that in the second hour. In the next segment, we'll be joined by back-to-back champion Columbia Academy baseball coach Richie ESTEP. Again, the Bulldogs pulled off the double with last week's Division IIA championship victory over Clarksville Academy. Second year in a row they've won D2A, the third time that they've won it under Columbia Academy graduate Richie ESTEP, who now has 7 state championships under his belt, counting the 4 that he won out at Good Pasture. So the man with the rings will be joining us here in the next segment. Looking forward to talking to Richie. He's always fun. We'll also be talking some Braves baseball. We'll be talking some postseason basketball, some postseason hockey, as well as we have a league finalist set in each of those playoff situations. So looking forward to discussing that. We'll talk a little soccer as NSC went on the road last night. We got a lot. There's a lot to get to. So probably the best thing for us to do is to go ahead and get to it with yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
And load, boys and girls. Your Thursday rundown gets underway right now. And that means we wind back the clock for Wednesday results. Major League Baseball scores yesterday. The Astros defeat the Athletics 5-3. We touched on the Braves and Phillies. Again, it was a rain out. More on them in a moment, but they did not play yesterday. The Sounds did play, and the Sounds did get a win, defeating Indy 9-6 was your final there. Speaking of Indy, WNBA action, it was Washington defeating Indianapolis, the Fever falling 83-77. Good win for the Mystics. We touched on it a moment ago as well. NSC was in action last night. Got a goal early, couldn't make it hold up. They end up settling for a 2-2 draw on the road. Again, it was a 2-2 final, NSC on the road at Columbus.
Today's schedule right now, this was a 12:05 start to make up for that rain out yesterday, but the Braves are playing game 1 of a doubleheader right now in Philadelphia. They trailed 3-2 into the 7th on that one. Second game set to start at 5:45. This game here you can see right now on FanDuel Sports. The last one, again, 5:45, that one will be on FanDuel as well as the MLB Network. And at 7:10, Tampa Bay travels to Houston, taking on the Astros there. At 5:35 this evening, the Sounds will resume their series at Indianapolis. This will be the third of 6. Each team has won a game thus far. In WNBA action this evening, it's a 6 o'clock tip as Golden State travels to the NBA champion New York Liberty. And at 7, this one will be on Amazon. It's the Dallas Wings at the Chicago Sky, or Paige Beckers and Angel Reese, depending on how you look at it. At any rate, ladies and gentlemen, that is your rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And, you know, when we lost Mike Leach a couple of years ago, there was a lot of concern about him not being eligible for the College Football Hall of Fame because he had a career coaching record that fell short of the required winning percentage of 60%. His wins at Texas Tech, Washington State, and Mississippi State added up to a percentage of 59.6. Again, one of the requirements for eligibility for the Hall of Fame was a 60% winning percentage. That rule has been changed, apparently, and it was announced earlier today. The new minimum winning percentage is 0.595, 59.5%. And so, again, Mike Leach sitting at 0.596 would be eligible for consideration, as will Les Miles, who has a 0.597 win percentage at Oklahoma State, LSU, and Kansas. He was pretty clear of the mark before 37 wins at LSU were vacated by the NCAA. Also, Jackie Sherrill, who coached at Pitt, Texas A&M, and Mississippi State, will be eligible with his career winning percentage of 0.595. So it's interesting. A half of a percentage point was what was keeping those guys from being considered. And also, current coach Rich Rodriguez is at 0.596 right now. West Virginia just left Jacksonville State to return to the Mountaineers. But I don't know who else is going to be impacted by this. I don't know if this was specifically to address the Mike Leach situation, just because there was such a sentiment that he should be in the Hall of Fame. But I'm kind of intrigued by all of a sudden. I don't know. Maybe a winning percentage shouldn't be considered, because I mean, there are still some guys out there that are probably deserving. One name that I saw in particular this morning was Howard Schnellenberger, who you know, pretty much revived the Miami program, basically saved Louisville. They were getting ready to go to 1AA before he got there, and started the Florida Atlantic program. His winning percentage is just under 51% for his career, but I don't think there's anybody that would tell you that Howard Schnellenberger has not been a Hall of Fame coach, or was not a Hall of Fame coach over the course of his career. So it's, I mean, I'm glad that Leach and Sherrill and Rodriguez and these guys are going to be able to perhaps get the due that they deserve from a recognition standpoint, but maybe it's just not a number.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, right? And man, as you were kind of going through those accolades and going through those numbers, the impact of Leach, I think this is where you could maybe, you know, if you were going to blur the lines, he meant so much to so many different programs, kind of like Schnellenberger there, to your point there. And then also kind of just the way he kind of innovated the game with some of his concepts certainly is what you would consider, you know, quote unquote, Hall of Fame worthy. But man, as you were going through that, I was wondering, would Mike Leach approve of this today? You know, he's such an odd character. I never got to meet the guy, but I would love to know if somewhere up there you could ask Mike Leach, you know, do you approve of this? I could see him being a little bit of a stickler and say, no, I didn't deserve it. And it's like, come on now, coach. You know, if you'd scheduled a 1AA school and got a win, but instead you decided to beef up your schedule 1 year, you'd have that number. So I wonder what the old Pirate would be up there thinking today.
The old pirate and the former barrister. You know, this guy went to law school, right? So I mean, you could certainly see a scenario where he might say, we don't need to be fudging the rules, and certainly not for me. But again, to your point, for everything he's done for the game, for everything he's done in the game, if nothing else, maybe you could consider him as a contributor for the innovations that he brought, like you said. But I just think it's an interesting tweak there, and it's a very convenient, you know, we dropped it by 0.5 percentage point. You know, what if somebody comes in at 58 something at some point? I mean, how far are you willing to go? I mean, once you open that Pandora's box, I mean, it's kind of tough to get it closed. Now, I don't think anybody's going to complain about it, because I don't think anybody thinks Mike Leach is not a Hall of Fame coach.
Right, exactly. We probably would not have even reached this level if there wasn't such a seemingly overwhelmingly majority and groundswell of support for him to be included, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody out there that is willing to get up on that soapbox and say, hold up, wait a minute. I just don't see it between, you know, the contributions that he made, the type guy that he was, and 4/100ths of a point. Is that what we're talking about? My math is a little shaky once we start getting into decimals. 4/1000ths. I don't know. Again, 59.6 winning percentage is what he had at the time of his untimely passing. So, I mean, you feel like had he been able to stick around, he was going to build on that and clear the 60%. So, I mean, it's a tough situation. There's a lot of reasons that Mike Leach deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, or certainly be considered for the Hall of Fame. And, you know, a criteria such as that shouldn't necessarily be what keeps him out, I don't think. This is the only eligibility requirement that has changed. You must have served as a head coach for at least 10 years and coached in at least 100 games. You become eligible for consideration 3 full seasons after retirement, or immediately if they are at least 70. If you are 75 and still coaching, you are immediately eligible. So, and that's probably pretty prudent, actually, all things considered. So, now Mac Brown's already in, right?
You know, my gut reaction was yes, but I don't know is my real answer. That's a good question.
Yeah, he was inducted in 2018.
It makes sense. One thing that I did find fascinating on this, you mentioned Rich Rod, and they opened with Robert Morris in Ohio. You would think 2 wins. They got Pitt. They got the backyard brawl in week 3. And I'm not saying Rich Rod should just hang them up right before week 3, but if he were of a certain mindset, that would be a thing there. But one thing that I did find fascinating, this does give a little wiggle room to the old ball coach in the Big Ten, Kirk Ferentz, who needs 1 more win to tie Woody Hayes for the most career wins in the Big Ten at 205. But this was crazy. He coached it 3 years at Maine in the early 90s, and he only went 12-21 in that mark. So he's technically right on that cusp. He's at 598 for his career at 69 years young. So Kirk Ferentz kind of got a little small blessing in disguise, depending on, you know, how the next year or two, however long he wants to coach, kind of played out. That could prove pivotal for his candidacy in a few years, perhaps. But 12-21 at Maine could be what keeps him out. And I mean, you could make a really – how would you like to argue against, hey, this guy is the all-time Big Ten wins leader, but he's not eligible for the Hall of Fame because he coached 3 years at Maine.
Because
it kind of doesn't make sense.
The three-year coach of the Black Bears. Yeah.
We don't know him. I mean, I didn't know he coached at Maine until I read this article
Neither
today.
did I.
And I was
Neither
right.
did I.
And I'm like, so that is, on one hand, I love how kind of cut and dry it is. And, so much of the world is, literally the whole world is just shades of gray. But it is kind of sometimes oddly refreshing to see things so black and white. And, if you don't meet this mark, you don't get in. But it would be fascinating. But he's got a little extra breathing room now, as long as Iowa, still keeps hanging on here.
Now, who do they open with, Wade?
That's a great question. We'll go to the they got to play a loaded Big Ten schedule, you would think. Let's see who they got non-con here. I'm pulling this up. Iowa State, you would assume, is in the mix every year. So they open with Albany. Then they got the Cy-Hawk Trophy at Iowa State this year and UMass. And then they get into Big Ten. And their Big Ten schedule is actually not bad at looking at this thing. They avoid Ohio State. They avoid Michigan. Their biggest game is Penn State. So we might have just – I got to go to USC and they play Oregon. But we might circle Iowa. Iowa could be a sneaky pick to make some noise in the Big Ten just based on that initial schedule I'm looking at here. He
might have some familiarity with Albany from his time with the Black Bears, actually.
Yeah, maybe saying, hey, I remember I love this too. On ESPN, they show you the ticket price. You could get into the Albany game for $18. The next week for the Cy-Hawk Trophy is going to cost you $210. So if you're thinking about getting into a game, you might as well just save up for Iowa State now. But yeah, Kirk Ferentz right on the bubble there, it seems like. Rich Rod there as well. And you would assume these guys will rack up more wins than losses. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about them in general. We're talking about elite coaches here. But I found that fascinating that two guys are smack dab on the bubble here. So this kind of helps their candidacy.
Absolutely. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back to Throwback Thursday, it'll be Coach's Corner, where we visit with Richie ESTEP of Columbia Academy Baseball. Stick around.
Get ready, race fans. NASCAR is back in Music City with a new name, the Cracker Barrel 400. Guitars, fast cars, and the comfort of Cracker Barrel's country hospitality. May 30th through June 1st. The action kicks off Friday night at Nashville Super Speedway with the Rackley Roofing 200. Then the Tennessee Lottery 250 on Saturday. And Sunday night, NASCAR's top stars under the lights in the Cracker Barrel 400. Get your tickets now at NashvilleSuperspeedway.com.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need...
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
833.
Busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now
busy
ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Welcome back into Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. At the top of the 3 o'clock hour, we'll be throwing it back to a recent conversation we had with longtime college baseball umpire Scott Klein as we head into NCAA postseason play this weekend. So be sure and stick around for that again at the top of the 3 o'clock hour. Right now, though, it's time for Coach's Corner as we visit with Richie ESTEP, coach of the two-time defending or two-time reigning at this point Division IIA state champion Bulldogs. Back-to-back, 3 since his arrival at his alma mater to go with the Class A title back in 2018. And if you missed that championship game, find it on NFHS or YouTube or wherever, because it was a thriller. 7 state championships to go with his 4 out at Goodpasture prior to returning to his alma mater. Richie ESTEP joining us. Coach, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
We got you,
We can.
Coach.
We can.
Okay.
Yeah. Appreciate you taking some time with us. I figured you might be out mowing the outfield grass or something today, but congratulations, first of all.
I appreciate it. It's tiresome. It's a grind, but we don't have any rest. We've had tryouts this week for middle school and high school and elementary baseball camp. We call it Camp with the Champs this week. So it's a little easier to do it, I guess, when you win it, but we have definitely stayed busy.
Camp with the Champs. Not everybody gets to call theirs that.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the way you're kind of capitalizing on that success. As you pointed out last week when we talked, 73 wins in 2 seasons, 37-6 last year, 36-5 this time around. And that kind of 2-year run, I mean, unless you're Farragut or Eagleville, that's kind of tough to put together.
I mean, it is. This group has been amazing. Last year we told them, just be you. Usually if we just go and play 7 innings, we're going to win. But it's a special group. And, 73 wins. We told them to leave your legacy, and have teams want to follow you, but make it hard for teams to follow that. And I think that it definitely will. I can remember going to, I think it was a region championship or state 12 a couple years ago when we got put out early in the season. I thought we were close maybe to winning or getting that far or making a run. But I saw the pitching and I saw how good the teams were. I think it was Grace and Clarksville Academy one time. It was Grace Christian and Silverdale Academy. And I'm just like, man, it is just difficult to get this far. And here we are 2 years later. And we've won it back to back, which is we don't take for granted because it's hard to do.
The opportunities that I've had to talk to you this season, you've always emphasized pitching and defense, and nowhere was that more visible than this past week. 1-0 in 8 innings against Providence Academy in the state semifinals. 2-0 against Clarksville Academy in the winners bracket final. 2-0 against Clarksville Academy in the championship game. This team scored 5 runs and won 3 ball games because they didn't give up any. I don't know, and I'm sorry, I'm just not energetic enough to go back through all the records, but I don't know that anybody has won a state championship with 3 shutouts.
Yeah, I mean, and you left out only 12 hits in 3 games. We only had 12 total hits. I told the guys, you've left a record that no one will ever be able to break, that, you can only tie us. We didn't give up a run, but we also probably broke a record for the least and to win the whole thing also, which you know, if you would have told me that, I would have probably said, well, our bats went silent and we had a good year and we just couldn't get the hits or whatever. But our pitching staff and our defense, I mean, it is the stronghold of this team. We got 2 guys out at the plate in that little run that were big outs, and we practice that stuff all the time. We make it so hard in practice, and we go through every situation, and we rep it. You know, every 5 seconds, a ground ball's coming at you. Every first 10 to 15 minutes, and we rep that stuff. And because in this league, you have, I mean, anytime you win it, you got to have good pitching, good defense. But especially now, like that first pitcher we saw for Providence Academy is going to be a high draft pick. And Jackson Lee, you cannot give up a run. You can't give up a run. Like the first mistake is going to lose. And so just these guys to be able to do that for 2 straight years, it's just a testament to them and to the buy-in that we have from them.
And, you know, for you to be able to tell Jackson Lee, Gunnar Skelton, and Will Rhodes, you can't give up a run. And for them to look at you and say, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we actually tell them that. We thought we could score a few more runs and good year offensively, but like they're up for that challenge. They're up for that challenge. Gunnar Skelton's pitched in so many big games for us, and he thrives in it. And Jackson Lee this year wanted the ball. He wants to, we call it empty the tank. Coach, let me empty the tank. So that means let me throw 120 pitches. You know, he would throw more if you let him. But and then Will Rhodes told me before the championship game, he said, Coach, you're not taking me out today. I'm throwing the whole game this time. And I had a good feeling in the locker room when he said that to me. But those guys love to pitch, and we're going to miss seeing 2 of them on the mound.
Yeah, Coach, when you go through those scores, you know, they look sexy, 1-0, 2-0, 2-0 in terms of not giving up any runs. But can you kind of put into perspective just how nerve-wracking it must have been in the dugouts? At what point, if at any point in those games, did you feel confident? Was it the final out every one of those games?
Yeah, I mean, this is the final out. We kind of got used to it last year. The average score in the 10-win run last year was 4-2. That was we won 10 games last year to win it, and the average score was 4-2. And but no, you're never comfortable. That last inning in the champ game, I was sitting there thinking, I was telling Coach Knox, I was like, he's going to make me make a decision. There's going to be a couple runners on, and the meat of the order's coming up, and he's going to make me put in a pitcher or say, it's yours. And luckily that didn't happen. But I don't know. There's something about this group that we were just confident that we were going to find a way to win. And, you know, baseball, at some point, something doesn't go your way, or a hop, or you don't get the hit, you hit everything right at them, and, you know, something just goes wrong. But this group, it never did. So, but no, it is nerve-wracking, stressful, as it can be, because you don't want to make the wrong call. You don't want to get in the way. You just want them to win the game, you know. So, but yeah, it makes the celebration maybe a little better since it was so close. You know, all the emotion to come out rather than if you win 9-1 or 10-1. But it's never comfortable. But we just have a confidence that we're going to pull it out.
You obviously had the success last year, and you knew this was a talented group, but I always love asking championship coaches and teams, what was the moment, or was there a key moment in the season where, yeah, you knew you had a great squad, but you knew that that things were clicking and really they maybe took it to an even higher level? Was there a moment, and if so, when was that for you guys?
Yeah. I mean, early on, I didn't know if they were up for the challenge. Our scrimmages were bad. Our practices were bad. We were fighting with each other, like the players and me, just wanting to go through the grind again. And the players kind of just said, Coach, we got this. Trust us. Like, I was like, well, y'all have got to give me more than this. Like, y'all not even interested in being out here right now. And so then they did flick the switch, and we won 18 in a row to start the season. We had won 28 in a row if you go back to last year. And we played some good teams in Gulf Shores. And our schedule, I guess, early in the year was tough. And I was worried going 500. You can ask my family and ask some coaches. I was just like, I just hope we go 500 because it's tough. And all they did, I mean, we just kept winning. And we won 18 in a row. I never won 18 in a row to start the season because the schedule's usually tough. Our district's tough enough. We're facing different pitchers all along the way, or like SEC-type pitchers committed. And we're just winning. And so I guess that start kind of gave me reassurance that, okay, they're up for the challenge. And I don't think
it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt your nerves when you win 18 to start, I would imagine, right?
No. I mean, our motto was take two, just kind of like a different take on a movie. And that's what it seemed like. I was like, okay, they have flicked the switch, and we're just kind of rolling. Like last year, like 9 months didn't even pass. And so I think I knew they had it in them. It was just nerve-wracking in the fact that it's just hard to go through that. And we had some slip-ups at the end. And we watched the team celebrate the district championship on our field. We watched Clarksville Academy celebrate on their field in the region championship. And so I said after that, I don't want to see another team celebrate on the field but us. And so, and they just believed that. And so just very confident group. It's about as most experienced group as I've ever had back from a year before. 7 seniors here at Columbia Academy is that's rare. I know 18, I think 2018 we had 8, but it was just a confidence that we have in each other, them and me and them, that I'll remember forever.
Richie ESTEP, Columbia Academy baseball coach, Columbia Academy graduate, joining us here on Main Street Sports today on Coach's Corner. You won 4 state championships at Good Pasture before you came back to Columbia Academy in 2014. Is it more special to do what you've done at a place where you played?
I mean, that's a tough question because they're all special. They're all different. They're all hard to do, and you don't take any of them for granted. And I don't want to disrespect the Good Pasture teams that we put in that hard work and all those times, all those tough games, and all those close games that we had. But yes, I mean, I grew up here, and my basketball jersey is hanging up in the gym. All these memories that I have here, yes, it makes it super, super special. I've got 2 coaches now that were the pitchers in the 2018 game. I've got Pernell Knox as the AD and my assistant, who we grew up playing together. So there's a lot of special stuff here. But yes, it does make it special here. But I'm not going to disrespect all of them because it's just so hard to do, to be that last guy standing. But it's definitely special. Yes.
Yeah. And to your point, you had not done it back to back in any of those previous 6. And in the article that's online at mainstreetmurray.com, shameless plug, Will Rhodes, the winner of that championship game, says it's always hard to go back to back when it's that much of a grind. To be able to do it twice, so it can be hard to be motivated to go through all that again. And you kind of touched on that to a little bit. It's such a grind to win it once and to be able to get back up and get yourself back in the mindset of, let's go do this again and let's do everything that we know it takes to win it. For them to be able to respond the way that they did over the course of the year, it has to be really special.
I mean, no doubt it's a grind. We take a day off a week. It's 6 days a week, but it's from August on. These guys, most of them, all year long, and like we are throwing and they're hitting and they're conditioning and they're lifting weights all year long, and it is such a grind. And most of the time, you just if we don't make it, we got ours last year. That's motivated to do something that nobody else can follow and that nobody else can get. Takes an effort on all of us because we all are tired. We all, oh my goodness, we got to practice again today and like just get through it and like fight, because every game when it's that close too is emotionally draining, not just physically draining. So those guys, man, I will remember them forever. I appreciate them for putting in that time and grinding with us. Most of them are already playing again though. Like they love it themselves.
Right back to it.
Right back to it. Let's get a little bit of rest, a little long rest day, and right back to it. But I've got to get a shout out if we're not going to like our community and our CA family. I don't know if you saw the picture where Will Rhodes took the trophy to the fans and held it up. And our fans kind of get in other fans' heads because we're so just loud. It's not that we're not just talking. It's just, it is so loud to be a high school program and to have that big of support. And there's a picture of us with the banner, holding the banner with them in the background. And like, I want to like blow that up and put that on my wall because that's what we are. We're a community, a brotherhood. I told our guys, let's do this thing together. Like together was a word that we had. And we're probably going to invite everybody to the banquet that showed up to that game. It's the support that they had in our home games. It's an edge. Like I told people, it is such an edge when we play at home and our fans are going at it, and like that, it's such a big crowd. So, but I've got to at least say that because I do believe that had something to do with it too.
Coach, I got to ask you real quick, how does this work now? Yeah, you won the title last year. You celebrate accordingly. You don't just run back the same celebration, right? You got to throw in a few new twists and wrinkles to celebrate this group, right? Maybe don't give it away, but you got something extra in store for everybody?
Yeah, I hadn't got that far. Like we've gone right into camp and tryouts, and I don't know where to put banners. I don't know where to put our left field wall has it displayed. I think it's a pretty cool left wall, but no, I haven't got that far yet.
We'll check back with you then, just to do that. We'll give you a little bit of time to process because it's a big accomplishment, obviously.
Yes, no doubt.
Richie, we know Gunnar Skelton was named TBCA Mr. Baseball for D2A prior to the start of the tournament last week. He's a junior. He's committed to Vanderbilt. Jackson Lee is going to Lipscomb. Very late sign, but Jeff Forehand finally figured it out. Good for him. Jacob Woodward is headed to Roane State. We've talked about Will Rhodes. Who is somebody on this team that doesn't get talked about enough, Richie?
Will Rhodes is under the radar for sure. He needs his props. He could be a number one pitcher for most teams, most years for us for sure. He had a little lull in the middle of the season, but his last two starts were as good as any two starts that we had. And Jackson Lee, that's a steal. That's a steal. I kept telling people, if you get him, it's a steal. The guy can pitch. He loves being on the bump, and he's going to learn. He's going to get bigger and stronger and just get better. But that is kind of a tough question. I'm going through Some of my guys, Jace Kincaid and Noah Gibson, are two underrated players. Jace Kincaid and Noah Gibson, 3-4 batters this year. Noah Gibson caught. He started like the second week of his freshman year. I think second or third week, he got the starting job. And I bet he caught every game from that inning on except maybe one. And for 3.5 years. And, you know, he is a bulldog back there. And like next year, we're going to say, oh my goodness, where's Noah Gibson? And he hit for us really well. But Jace Kincaid made some plays in the in the state tournament that he made look easy that aren't easy, from the back foot in the hole. Like one play at the plate in the state championship game that we all were yelling one, and he tells us, Coach, I saw him go back to the bag and hesitate. I knew I had him. So those two definitely need their props. And I got to give Briar Helton too. Briar Helton is our other senior, and has 2 torn labrums in his hips, and he was born with it, and wasn't sure he was going to get to playing all year, and that guy gets big hit after big hit after big hit. He's the toughest kid that I know, and he can't have surgery on both hips at the same time. Each one will take half a year to recover, and he's going to have to start on that soon. But I don't know many that could have done what he did and play a full season. And me telling down the stretch, you have to play second base. You're my best guy. You only got a few games left. Can you do it? I don't want to injure you, but man, he's the toughest guy I know.
And who caught the final out, Richie? Runner at first, ground ball to Gunner.
Yep, Briar Helton. Briar Helton. Yep, that was so fitting. I told him it was fitting that those two made the last out. But yes, he deserves that for sure, because he wasn't sure he was going to play. There was a point in our season, Briar Helton came in my office and said, Coach, I don't think I can do this. And we just said, look, go home, think about it. We want you on this team. And he did. And we're glad he did.
I'm sure he is too. Richie ESTEP, 7-time state champion, 2-time back-to-back at Columbia Academy, joining us here on Coach's Corner on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Richie, appreciate your time. Congratulations. Take a couple of breaths, man, before you get back out there to your camp or to your grass or whatever it is you're doing. But again, we appreciate you, and congrats.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
As we wrap up this segment, we need to give you our Custom Stone Handlers In to Win Life Team of the Week. Besides the military, there is no greater team building function than athletics. Custom Stone Handlers invites you to get in the game. And in case you hadn't figured it out, our Custom Stone Handlers In to Win Life Team of the Week is the Columbia Academy Bulldog baseball team. Again, 3 games in the state tournament in Division 2A, outscored their opponents 5-0, 12 hits. Let's see. Jackson Lee had 14 strikeouts. Gunnar Skelton had 12, and Will Rhodes had 8, I think. So again, if you can't score, you can't win. And Columbia Academy pretty well figured that out. They are our Custom Stone Handlers In to Win Life Team of the Week to close out the high school athletic season for 2024-25. Our Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia Athlete of the Week, we've heard his name mentioned a couple of times here in this segment. Jackson Lee, the Lipscomb University signee, struck out 14 in 8 innings in that opener against Providence Academy. Gave up 3 hits, gave up 2 walks, and kept his Bulldog team in it until they could score on a contact play at the plate in the 8th for a 1-0 victory over Providence. So Jackson Lee is our Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia Athlete of the Week. Congratulations to him, his teammates, and again, Coach ESTEP and staff. Great season for them, finishing up 36-5 with a second consecutive D2A state title. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll talk a little big league baseball. Stay tuned.
If you want the latest in weather conditions, be sure to tune in to our Busy Bee Plumbing Weather Report each weekday on Mornings on Main Street. Brought to you, of course, by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning. We will keep you updated on the latest conditions outside, like severe weather, heat, snow, rain, and even hail.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
Twenty-ninth, 1984. After allowing 4 runs in the top of the first inning, the Braves rallied, scoring 3 runs in the 8th to defeat the Cubs 7-4. It was a costly victory, though, as slugging third baseman Bob Horner broke his right wrist, the same one he'd broken the previous season, while diving for a ground ball. Horner, who went 4 for 4 with pair doubles and 3 ribs in the game, would go on to miss the remainder of the season. That was this day in Braves history. Things not going well. They're going some better for the Braves, I guess. They had fought back and tied this game against Philadelphia 4-4. Just gave up a run in the top of the 8th. Phillies lead 5-4. I'm sorry, in the bottom of the 8th. Phillies lead 5-4. Bases loaded, 1 out. So it looks like this thing is finally going to go the way we expected it to when we saw the lineup that the Braves rolled out. That included both Stuart Fairchild and Eli White. Now, the idea was to try to give Ronald Acuna this game off, but Fairchild injured his pinky on a stolen base attempt, forcing Ronald into the game pretty early, earlier than intended, obviously. A.J. Smith-Shawver takes a ball off his foot, seems to injure something in the aftermath of that. So this feels like one of those anything that could go wrong has to this point for the Braves. Again, got down 3-0, got the game tied at 4, just gave up a run, although apparently the play is being challenged.
Never know.
Yeah. And I guess the run scored, and now Snitker's coming out to talk to Daysbel Hernandez, maybe to lift him. I don't know, because we got bases loaded, 1 out and down a run. Second game starts at 5:45. It's Chris Sale, 2-3 with a 3.36, going against Zach Wheeler, 6-1 with a 2.42 earned run average, and doesn't bode well for the Braves. Again, given this offense that we've seen sputter more often than not. So tough day.
Gonna need one of them Columbia Academy type performances in the nightcap, perhaps, and get a run and hang on, maybe.
Oh yeah, and I don't know. That's Sale's probably capable, but I think this Philadelphia lineup is a little tougher than Providence and Clarksville Academy, so we'll see how that goes. We talked a little bit about this one yesterday. Houston in a day game, downing the Athletics 5-3. Victor Caratini with a 2-run single in the 7th, key in a 3-run rally there that put the Astros over the top. But Lance McCullers with a solid 6 innings, his longest outing since coming back from an arm injury. Josh Hader picks up his 14th win in his 14th save in as many opportunities as Houston improved to 30-25 with that win. They've got Tampa Bay coming in for a 7-10 start tonight. The Rays 28-27, and I would imagine glad to be on the road and out of that Steinbrenner Stadium situation that they find themselves in at home.
Yeah, be an interesting series. We just referenced the Rays yesterday, and if the Yankees weren't doing what the Yankees were doing, we might have a little more favorable opinion of kind of the Rays. They got off. It seems like they got off to a really slow start. If I remember correctly, they started really bad in those new digs, and they've kind of found a way. They're about 500 at home. They're a little bit better on the road, and so therefore they're right around Houston's mark. They're a game over 500. This will be a fun series because Houston suddenly playing with a little mojo, won 7 out of their last 10 and 4 in a row after yesterday's day victory, like you mentioned, and just a half game back of Seattle. So again, I don't think that it doesn't feel like last year where they made this big surge and kind of once they clubbed their way to the top of the standings, everybody else was kind of on notice. It feels like they will be in competition with Seattle at a minimum, and maybe even Texas before it's all said and done. It just doesn't feel like they're just going to, once they take and wrestle control away, that they'll be in great shape. But a win tonight would certainly go a long way. It'll be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, it feels like the AL West is going to be fun, like you said, with the teams kind of battling for the top spot. There seems to kind of be a little bit of parity out there. So
a little bit of parity. Houston's got the best run differential by a pretty wide margin. Seattle's 18 to the good, and Houston's 36 up on them. So the power rankings, or the power metrics, you would still maybe give the edge to Houston. They haven't looked like the Astros of old, but they didn't look like them this point in the season last year either, before they really got hot in the summer and then made a nice deal at the deadline. So kind of, as long as they can bide time, and if they are within striking distance as we get close to the deadline, that will be kind of the interesting thing to me. But yeah, a big one tonight, and Tampa's a team certainly you can't overlook. They're desperate in their own right. Everybody in that division is desperate. It might already be even a foregone conclusion that New York wins it, but Tampa is still lingering in the mix.
They say one man's trash is another man's treasure, and as of right now, through one game anyway, Orlando Arcia kind of looks like such for the 9-47 Rockies. Designated for assignment by the Braves when they activated Ronald Acuna last Friday. Arcia has since signed with the Rockies, and last night went 2 for 3 as their DH in a 2-1 loss to the Cubs. I don't think anybody in Atlanta would have expected to hear the words Orlando Arcia and designated hitter in the same sentence. Probably wouldn't have expected to hear 2 for 3 either, but here we are. And so as the Braves offense continues to scuffle to get traction. A guy that you just released had a pair of hits and 3 at-bats. Now, I mean, the expectations aren't very high because, again, it is the Rockies. They are 9-47. I saw somewhere they are on pace to finish 74 games out of first place.
Yeah.
And that's not entirely a function of them.
No. I don't know if that's good or bad, right? I don't know if it's a good thing because that number is going to look so ridiculous. But you could almost make the argument, hey, we weren't going to win this division anyway. LA obviously is LA. San Diego appears to be really strong again this year. San Francisco looks more than capable. And Arizona is sneaky. So, I mean, it felt like they were going to be last in a loaded division, but we didn't anticipate them being this bad. They are 175 runs below differential.
Oh, wow. That's bad. You feel bad for a guy like friend of the show, Thomas Harding, for having to cover that kind of thing on a daily basis. So,
yeah. I mean, you find out I've said it before. You find out who the professionals are, and that goes to the players, the coaches, even the beat writers. You're a pro's pro if you can go out and still do a good job covering that team.
Absolutely. Former Independent standout Robert Hassel III, nicknamed Bobby Barrels, got called up while we were at Spring Fling last week. That means that all 4 of the guys that the Washington Nationals got in that trade with San Diego for Juan Soto are in the majors now. And Hassel continuing to make his mark, got off to a little bit of a slow start, 2-17 going into last night's matchup with the Mariners, hit his first major league home run out on the coast, had 3 hits, drove in a pair of runs, and the Nationals defeated Seattle 9-0 last night. So congrats again to former Independent standout Robert Hassel III getting on the board with his first major league home run. Something else we missed while we were out, former Loretto standout Ryan Weathers, 5 2/3 innings, 0 earned runs in a Memorial Day start against the Padres, struck out 6, so whittling that ERA way down, 1.15 to be exact. The Padres got out with an 11-inning 4-3 victory, but obviously Weathers did not get the decision. And again, 5 2/3 with no earned runs. I think he gave up a pair, but they were unearned. So he's continuing to look solid and then some since coming back from that forearm strain situation that sidelined him for the early portion of the season. Set to start Sunday, so keep an eye on that. And finally, again, the Sounds with a 9-6 win last night up at Indianapolis. They had a couple of guys that finished up a triple short of the cycle. Anthony Ziegler and Bobby Dahlbeck each with 3 hits, a single, a double, and a homer. So providing much of the offense for the Sounds in that 9-6 victory. They continue that series at 5:35 tonight.
Hopefully get a win. Yeah, 2 guys short. Man, it would have been nice to get a 3-bagger squeezed in for at least one of them.
Yeah, it would have. That would have been, I mean, that's one of the greatest accomplishments, I think, offensively in baseball, when you can show the power, the speed, the whole 9 yards there offensively. That's a pretty nice outing when you can pull off a cycle. So it would have been nice. I don't know when the last one was for the Sounds, but it definitely would have been cool to get that. Let's take a break here as we close out hour number 1 on Throwback Thursday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we will be throwing it back to a recent conversation we had with longtime college baseball umpire Scott CLINE. Stick around. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We are joined now by, as he said when we crossed paths here 2 or 3 weeks ago, the second most famous guy from Portland, Tennessee, Scott CLINE, longtime college baseball umpire. He says he was the most famous guy from Portland until some guy named Corey Brewer came along.
Yeah, hey, good to be here, guys. But I'll take a back seat to that guy any day of the week. Corey is did some amazing things for my little community of Portland up there, and still does to this day. So no, that's we all hang our hat on Corey. We all brag about him. So glad to be with you guys.
You could do worse, and we appreciate you taking some time with us, Scott. I know you're getting ready to get to work tomorrow down in Hoover as the Southeastern Conference baseball tournament cranks up. I mean, you got to be a baseball fan to be an umpire, I think. But how does your avocation impact that?
Yeah, well, I guess I kind of give you the long answer. I don't know if this is what you're looking for, Mo, but
we've got time.
I'm going to call you Mo, man. I'm going to roll with Mo. That's what I know you as.
You're just fine.
But no, back, I played at Maryville College when I left Portland, played baseball over there. And so obviously had a love for the game. And at some point in time, somebody's going to tell you you're not good enough to keep playing, right? So after I got out of school, I was eventually told that and decided I wanted to stay in the game and just was a young dad, trying to make ends meet. And the primary job wasn't quite enough to make that happen. I had 2 young children at the time, and I said, I got to find something else to do. And I dabbled in some umpiring when I was in high school and a little bit in college. And then I said, it's time to get serious about this. So, like many people, if you started umpiring in Middle Tennessee, a gentleman named Doris Armstrong had something to do with your training. And my man Doris. So I could tell some great stories about him. And not only was he a great football mind, but he's done a lot of great things for baseball. And fortunately, I was able to get my start in umpiring under Doris in the mid-'90s in high school. And stayed in high school about 3 or 4 years. And then things took off for me once I went to an umpiring camp over at Middle Tennessee State and got into college baseball. And things have obviously progressed from there. So yeah, it's you gotta love it. You gotta want to do it. You gotta be thick-skinned. You can see it already took a toll on my hair. So yeah, you really gotta love the game to do what we do, especially in today's social media driven world.
Our producer Mark was taking note of the social media world. I assume you do not have a Twitter account.
I don't, and I tell you, I sell real estate on the side, and I've been living under a rock for 25 years, which we want to. And I say that because I didn't even have a Facebook page until, I don't know, maybe a year ago. And I said, if I'm going to sell real estate, I got to try to get my name out here. So, yeah, we are not ones that nobody's ever going to write. Scott CLINE made a great call. Whatever, you're not going to get that kind of publicity as an official. So it's best just to steer clear of all that and not be on any of it. But unfortunately, I had to for my other job.
Yeah. Mark would agree with you on that. But you say things took off for you after a little time at the high school level. I would dare agree with you. This will be what, your 14th Southeastern Conference tournament?
This is my 14th. Yes, it is. And At 14th and final, and it never gets old. I tell people I have worked 4 College World Series. When you get to Omaha, the first part of it, I'm going to get back to the question you just asked me. When you get to Omaha, it's a little bit more of a social event. Everybody's hitting the beach ball up in the air. You may have a pocket of fans over here for a school and then a pocket of fans over here for the other school. And then everybody else is just there for the experience. Now it intensifies as you get to the end, and the schools feel, hey, we got a chance. That's when all their fans start flooding in. Well, it's kind of like that, kind of on steroids here at Hoover. That happens a little bit quicker. The fans like, hey, we got a chance, and it's not that far of a drive, so let's go. So even though a lot of these schools know that they're going to advance the NCAA postseason play, you still have the pressure because they all want to win that SEC championship. So it's and now with the new format this year, everybody's here. So that's going to be ratcheted up and even another notch. So the intensity is definitely here. And yes, this is my 14th and final one. So, but it's always a great time.
Everybody's there, but they're not there for long with the single
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Sometimes they exit early. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Scott, you used the term dabble earlier. I'm curious, at what point did you decide, hey, I'm done dabbling in this thing and I want to really kind of take it to the next level? How did that process come about for you?
Yeah, that's a funny question. I was umpiring American Legion Regional, I think in 1998, and I was at Volunteer State Community College. I'll never forget, Puerto Rico was playing Georgia. It was about 100 degrees. I was so young in my career, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just trying to go to whatever base where somebody wasn't and hopefully fill in a spot. But I was still young and athletic. There was a gentleman in the stands. His story goes, and you've heard that we all heard this as kids. You never know who's watching you. Well, this is a very real case right here. I'm hustling around, even though I didn't know 3-man mechanics and everything yet. And I was coming off the field, and the guy approached me from the back as I was walking to get undressed. And that's typically not a good thing when somebody approaches you as an official. This gentleman said, he said, he called me son. He goes, son, he said, would you be interested in coming to an umpiring camp at Middle Tennessee State University in October? It was like July at the time. And I said, I'd love to. I said, tell me more about it. So it was at that point in time when I went to that camp, and that's when my baseball instincts I graduated from Maryville in 92. So we're only just, a few years after that. So I was still young, like I said, and athletic, could run and all that. And so that helps. That helps to get your foot in the door. And when I went to that camp at Middle Tennessee State, I said, hey, I can do this. This is something that I can do and excel at. And they placed me in the Ohio Valley Conference right away. And that's kind of unheard of to be placed into a Division I conference your first year going to these camps and clinics. And so I spent 6-7 years in OVC, and then worked some in the Southwestern Athletic Conference during that time, and then went from the ASUN to the Sun Belt. That's kind of the progression, and then got into the SEC and ACC. I've also worked in the ACC. So I knew kind of in the late 90s, and as it's well documented, Mo, I know you've written about it, there's a shortage of officials all across the country, especially our region.
At every level.
And so I thought, I've got a shot. And that's a message to anybody who's listening. If young people want to get involved in officiating, we at all levels, college level, we're looking for good umpires as well. So that's kind of how it came about. And I've seen the game grow. It's crazy how it's grown in interest. Some of these stadiums I used to go to, maybe 500 people there on Tuesday or Wednesday night for a midweek game. We go there now, there's 6,500 on a Tuesday night, so we've really seen it change and grow in a good way.
Scott CLINE joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. He mentioned that he's working the SEC tournament this week down in Hoover for the final time, because beginning September 1st, he will become the NCAA National Coordinator of Baseball Umpires. I assume that means you're coming off the field, right?
It does. So this week is a little bittersweet for me. Today is the day when guys find out the regionals, super regionals, and College World Series assignments. And this was the first year where I obviously had to remove my name from that, because I do start my new role this September 1st. And what that role entails, coordinator of umpires, the NCAA, is my primary objective is to travel the country and evaluate. And I have a group of advisors under me that also go out and they evaluate umpires. You never know they're at a game. And it's almost like a secret shopper, if you will, I guess. So we're out in the stadiums. I'm talking about coast to coast. I could be from California to the Carolinas. And we go out and evaluate umpires and select the 96 umpires for the NCAA Division I regionals, then the 32 umpires for the NCAA Division I super regionals, and then of course the 8 that go to the College World Series. And I also work hand in hand with Division II and Division III. I will be very active in rule changes, mechanics changes for the umpires, training throughout the year for the whole country. So I'm hoping they understand this Portland, Tennessee accent, because I'm going to be talking to people from all over the country. So anyway, but yeah, it is a big role. It's a big task. I didn't want to stay too long. I've had a good run, and I thought when the position came open, I saw it posted. I said, I'm going to give this a shot because I just came off the World Series last year. I said, I think the timing will be good here. And it turned out that it was. So I'm excited about it. It's a big challenge, but I'm excited about it.
Your 4th Men's College World Series that you're referring to last year, crew chief last year, replacing George Drouches in that role.
Yeah.
Scott Klein distinguished himself during the national search and has a proven track record of success as an elite umpire for more than 20 years, including as crew chief of the 2024 Men's College World Series. Scott has earned the respect of fellow umpires, baseball coaches, and athletic administrators, and will provide leadership to the NCAA baseball umpire program, building on the great job that George Drouches has done. I'm excited for the unique perspective Scott will bring to this role. So said Randy Buer, the NCAA Director of Championships and Alliances and Staff Liaison with the NCAA Baseball Umpire Program. Scott, when you hear somebody say something like that about you, when you see somebody say something like that about you, what's the reaction?
The reaction is, you go through your whole career and you really never know how coaches and feel about you. Because you're not going to hang out after the game and, go eat together or anything like that. So you don't know. And I think the thing that rose to the surface, I guess, if you will, during my interview process is I was shocked at how many very high level Division I umpires, names that you would know, I'm not going to mention, reached out on my behalf and said, "Hey, I think we've got the right guy for the job right here." And there were 3 other very good. There was 13 candidates. They whittled it down to 4. And I think the biggest takeaway with that comment that you just read from the director of the championships for NCAA was that going through it, you hope people respect you. You want to build a business rapport with them. It was never an idea or a thought of mine that I wanted to be quote unquote friends with coaches. That's not what we're there for. But you do hope to build a mutual respect so that you can manage the game and work together with them. Usually these coaches now, this is what the I would say the average fan doesn't realize. These guys need, and I would even say the ladies in basketball, female coaches, doesn't matter. These coaches, they need us to be right. They want us to be right. With the paychecks they're involved now and the scrutiny and pressure they're under, they want people. You're almost more of a consultant than anything. They want to be able to trust you and know that when things go sideways, they got somebody they can talk to. And I guess the long answer, Mo, is that through that process, I said, well, I must have did something right along the way because these guys respect me. So, and the very high level guys were in my corner too. So that meant a lot to me,
Scott, a few weeks ago, well, a couple months ago now, I guess, we were fortunate enough to have longtime college football official Russ Pulley on with us. Russ had just concluded his career. He was part of the officiating crew for the Pinstripe Bowl. And we asked him a question, and we will ask you, or I will ask you the same question. Have you kicked one?
Yes. And I tell you what, I don't know what you were doing this past weekend, but they got me this past weekend, Mo. They got me this past weekend. I had we do take a lot of pride in. It's funny you asked that. We do take a lot of pride in being right, because that's the other thing the coaches want. They need us to be right too.
Mm-hmm.
They do get 2 challenges throughout the course of the game in college baseball, and if they're correct, they get to retain that challenge. Our video in the SEC in particular, they use a system called Hawkeye now, and we used to have a lot of confirmed, stands, or overturned. Well, now this technology is so crystal clear, you're either going to be confirmed or overturned. The stands was that one in the middle where they couldn't tell. They can tell now. I mean, they can tell when it's the glove is a centimeter from the player or whatever. So what I had this past weekend, I had LSU at South Carolina, and I had a ball that went down in the dirt to a right-handed hitter, and I heard it hit a shoe. I will admit to this day, I did not see it, but I heard it hit a shoe. You remember Tony Pena, the catcher for the Cardinals, he used to catch with his leg out to the side? Well, this kid, all these kids are doing this now. Well, the shoe that I heard the ball hit was the LSU catcher. And so we went to replay. And here's a funny part, not funny, but here's a weird part about it. I'm the one that's talking to Birmingham, centralized replay. So hey, Birmingham, LSU's challenging the ruling on the field of hit by pitch. Previous plays under review, right? They come back, hey, hate to tell you, but it hit the catcher. You're going to overturn yourself. So they didn't say it. They didn't say it that way. But yeah, just this past weekend I missed one. So we're not perfect. Again, the coaches know that. But they want us to again, if you can talk to them and have a good calm demeanor, and they know they can trust you, they know we're human, okay, and we are. So
Scott, I'm curious in that regard. Walk us through, what does it look like? Okay, that's SEC level, which is about as close to the big leagues as you can get. Right. How does that look at a smaller conference? Don't have to name anyone in particular, but I imagine it's totally different.
That's a phenomenal question. It's a really good question. You take some of the mid-major schools that don't have that same technology. They still, most all conferences now have replay. The quality is not near as clear, but when it's not centralized, we call it curbside, like the crew chief and the calling official. Well, no, they'll take a non-calling official because they don't want there to be any personal bias when you look at it. So at a mid-major, it's very common for a crew chief to take a non-calling official. They'll go look at it. The unfortunate part about it, some schools are better than others, but when you get there and you start zooming in, sometimes it gets really grainy and break up. And I'm sure you probably know more about that than I do. And it's not as clear. And that's when the officials sometimes, unfortunately, have to come back and they can't confirm it. They can't overturn it. They have to say, hey, the call stands. That's why our call on the field, especially at the mid-major level, is extremely important. It's lazy just to say, you know what, we'll just go to replay. Well, first of all, no, you won't, because they only have 2. Second of all, once you get in there, your technology might not be as good as what we have at the SEC level. So that's a very good question and something that we battle. Sometimes in the springtime, some of those schools, if they have a lot of fans don't realize this. We may normally have, if you're at the mid-major, whatever school, you may have 5 camera angles typically. Well, if their women's basketball program is playing basketball at the same time, you may only have 2 camera angles. And so it's tough. With the resources, the lower levels you get, the tougher it gets. So,
I'm not surprised by that. Having worked at a small college, you're kind of the resources, what you have is what you get. But I'm also curious too, having been in kind of the 2 different eras, does your psyche or has your kind of approach, whether that's you personally or the umpires as a whole, do you alter anything knowing you do have a little bit of a weird luxury in replay in your back pocket? Kind of, how does that break down?
Man, that's another outstanding question. At the SEC level, now you'll see me most of the time, you'll just see me, even if the club play is really close, I'll just give a pretty basic out or safe mechanic, because the reason for that. You give a big wind up, whack him out, and you really sell it, and they go in and overturn you. Now you look silly. At those other smaller schools, without mentioning any names, some of those smaller mid-major and lower schools, you really got to sell it there. I mean, if you're out, if you got an out, you really got to sell the coach. You got to sell everybody. So there's more animation the lower levels you get because of that. You don't have the video to support you. I will say this: I've never ran across an umpire. This is another myth from fans and the general public. We love replay. We're not intimidated by it. Number one, because we're right a whole lot more than we're wrong. That's the first reason. The second reason is nobody wants to miss a call and cost somebody a game.
Right.
We embrace replay. We love it. And it's really improved our game. So great questions though.
Scott Klein, longtime college baseball umpire, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Scott, as you're getting ready to come off the field, this will be your last field work for a while anyway. Do you go into this week any different in Hoover?
I don't. The one thing I just told one of the guys, one of my crewmates just found out he's going to the College World Series. Actually, we have multiple guys on this tournament staff that are going to the College World Series. He just called me ecstatic, and I took a minute to tell him. I said, hey, and I know what their plan is. I've been around so long, they want to celebrate me. I'm like, no, we're going to celebrate you guys this week because I've been there and done that. It's y'all's time. Matter of fact, I'm getting out of the way in hopes that some young buck can come in here and take my spot and do a good job with it. So it is a little bittersweet. It feels weird, when you've been doing this since the late 90s basically at this level. Roy Mewburn, I tell you, that's how far back. Roy Mewburn was the head coach at Vanderbilt when I worked my first SEC games. That tells you anything. So and so Skip Bertman was still coaching at LSU. Trying to think some of the I don't know if you remember Pac-Man Mahan at Florida. Rod DeMonico was still at Tennessee. So yeah, it's been a long run, and could I still do it and stick around a few more years? Yeah, I could, but it's time. And but yeah, it is a little bittersweet this week. It's going to feel weird leaving here for the last time. I will say that.
The technology involving officiating has changed. How much do you think the game has changed away from what you use?
Yeah, from what I see, I can tell you for one, the athletes they really are, guys. They're bigger. They seem stronger. When I first got into umpiring, but especially when I played in the early 90s, that's going away, late 80s, early 90s. But even when I got into umpiring, if you had a couple of guys that threw 90, 91, 92, you probably had a couple of horses on your staff. If you don't throw 92, 93 in this league now, you're not going to be here. So the velocity from the pitchers, the depth of the pitching staffs, especially in this new NIL era, it seems like they've all flocked to this league. Now you still get quite a bit of that in the ACC as well. But the biggest thing as I see is the size and the speed of the athletes and just the velocity. I'm sure these kids are getting much better training now when they're younger than we did. And it shows because there was a kid from LSU last weekend that they brought in the ninth inning. I can't remember his name. He came in and the first pitch he threw in warmups was 98. You can go sit in a big league game all day and not see a guy throw 98. And I think he touched 100, 101. So it's not uncommon to see that in this conference. And that looks like an aspirin coming at you. You got to be on your game when you see when that starts.
That's just what I was getting ready to ask you. As the home plate umpire, that velo and the spin rate and that kind of thing, how much harder does that make it your job?
It's the concentration level that's required to do that for 3.5 hours. You wouldn't believe it. It does add another element to it, but I played baseball, basketball, and football in high school. Played baseball in college, of course. This, to me, with what I experienced, this is clearly the hardest thing I've ever done is to work the plate in this league. And then you have all the technology and the scrutiny that behind that with the TrackMan and the things that we, where you're evaluated literally every single pitch. we usually get those results as soon as we get back in the locker room. The problem with our technology is we have a static box that doesn't move. So if you have a guy that's 6'4", that box is the same for a 5'9" guy. That changes in the big leagues. They have that ABS system where if Aaron Judge is batting, he's not getting the same zone as Altuve is. I mean, it adjusts. So ours is a little skewed, but they do use that as a you can tell if a guy's going off the plate with our TrackMan system. So everybody asked me, what's it like working a plate in this league? And it's intense. It's extremely intense. So, but that comes with the territory.
Favorite game?
Favorite game. I will have to say it got pretty intense. Game 2 last year. And there's a bunch I could think of, but it got very intense last year. Game 2. I was on the plate for Texas A&M and Tennessee. That game was on ABC. I'm not sure if you remember or not, but Tennessee led pretty much the entire game, or for the majority of the game, and then A&M loaded the bases late, and they brought a pinch hitter in, left-handed hitter, and he hit one to the warning track. I thought it was gone, and I think that would have tied the score. It would either tied the score or put A&M up one. I can't remember what the final was, but that was pretty electric atmosphere. And in game 3, the very next night, Tennessee won that game. Texas A&M won game 1. Tennessee won game 2. And then the next night is when Tennessee closed it out. I was at second base for that. That game was electric too. Just a buzz in the stadium. In 22, I was there when Ole Miss won it. I don't think I've ever seen a school take Omaha over the way Ole Miss did. They took the entire town over. It was absolutely insane. So those are some that I remember the most.
Are y'all able to get out in Omaha and enjoy and kind of keep that low profile?
In 16, I went when Coastal Carolina won it. Yes, you could then. In 19, when Vanderbilt won it, I was there. You could then. What changed was I've been a crew chief in 22 and 24. When 22, when Ole Miss won it, and then 24, when Tennessee won it. My face is plastered on TV. You can think of Steve Shaw. Y'all can think of the football official that you've seen. So my face is plastered on TV for 2 weeks announcing the result of replays. So in 22 and 24, I saw that get more difficult. So I spent more time in my hotel last year for that very reason. But you can still get out and about. You just got to be smart about what you do and where you go. Yeah.
Great. Scott Klein, the newly named National Coordinator of Baseball Umpires for the NCAA as of September 1st, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Scott, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thanks for having me, guys. You guys have a great day.
Hey, let's go Stros.
People are amazed at the variety and quality of guests we bring into Main Street Sports Today. But when you've been in this business for nearly 40 years and you never throw away a phone number, it's pretty easy. Right, Wade?
Absolutely. And Wynn agrees with me. Check out some of our guests featured on Main Street Sports Today.
Step back and catch my breath. But I expect nothing less from you, big boy. Let's get going.
We make it work pretty good. So
the fans are tremendous. It's fantastic.
It was really amazing.
Yeah.
From preps to pros, you never know who's going to stop by, so be sure to listen to and watch Main Street Sports Today from 2 to 4 p.m. daily on the MSM TV app. We are back here on Throwback Thursday on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Great conversation with Scott Klein, and keeping the postseason vibes going now as we visit with MAREN ANGUS-COOMBS of softball on SI. We've got the Women's College World Series 2 games in. Well, a game and some change in Oklahoma City right now. And Maren, where are you?
I'm on my couch, actually. I'm not going to Oklahoma. I am.
What?
I'm driving to Nashville in a couple
What?
days. I know.
Wow.
I got some family stuff to do, so family comes first.
If you're not going to be at the park, I suppose the couch is probably the next best spot. You can keep tabs on a little bit of everything.
Yeah, you know what? Because I'm in charge of not just covering the tournament, and if you see my eyes wander, it's because the TV is behind my laptop right now. But I'm also keeping tabs on the transfer portal and the all the coaching changes, and there's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on, and you kind of scooped me on the transfer portal. We're going to get into that later, but obviously the focus right now is the Women's College World Series. Game 1, Texas with a 3-0 shutout over Florida. Game 2, don't call it the Sooner Invitational just yet, because Tennessee is up 3-1 on Oklahoma, headed to the bottom of the 5th, I believe. And so Tennessee looking to announce their presence with authority out in OKC by possibly knocking off the 4-time defending national champ. Is that where we're at now?
4. They're looking for number 5.
Goodness gracious. There's not a player not a player that signed with Oklahoma who hasn't won a national championship then. Is that
right? Of the players that return from last year's team, there's only 3 of them. But they've all won.
There's only 3 returners from last year?
Yeah, in the starting lineup.
Wow.
There's 3 from last year. Everyone else is new. So those 3 have won, but the rest of them, this is their first time being on this stage.
Okay. In the evening session, you've got Texas Tech and Ole Miss playing in the 6 o'clock contest. Ole Miss making their first ever trip to OKC. And in the nightcap, you've got a you've got a Big Ten matchup between Oregon and UCLA. So
I almost had flashbacks of Pac-12 after dark.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the late game and all. I mean, apparently the NCAA didn't get the message that it's no longer the Pac-12. But what do you think? I mean, we've not talked to you in at least a couple of weeks here. What are your thoughts about this field, Maren?
Well, I angered Vol Twitter last weekend.
That's not very hard.
No, nothing good comes of that.
But you should know better being from right here. But yeah, how did you manage? It doesn't take much, but how did you do it?
It doesn't. For Vol Twitter out there who's listening to this, read the story before you start saying stuff. Like, that's all you have to do is click the link, read the story, and then you can decide if you want to talk some smack. But read the story first. Like, you can't talk smack if you don't read it, because then you just make yourself look dumb.
Well, what happens oftentimes in those situations is you read the headline and react to the headline.
Yes, that's exactly what they did.
Okay, so tell me what the headline was, Maren.
Well, so over at Softball on SI, we covered Carlin Pickens and her 79-mile-per-hour pitch, but we covered it from both angles. So we did.
So already this does not sound good.
No.
So we covered the angle of Carlin Pickens breaking the record and setting a record and all of the things that Carlin Pickens does. But then we went into detail about just how hard it is to foul off a pitch at 79 miles per hour from roughly 38 feet away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And did math and numbers and science. And I always knew watching sports science would come in handy one day. Mm-hmm. And so we posted both of those stories. And that for some reason, if you don't click on the story and read it, then you don't see that we covered Carlin Pickens' setting a record.
Oh, so they only saw how hard it is to foul off 79.4, not how hard it is to throw 79.4. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But then they started saying stuff about me being a Husker fan and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, do you not see where I'm from? Not that I'm
but
a
they do
Vol
see where you are, probably.
Not that I'm a Vol fan. But I didn't claim to be a Husker fan either. So I don't know where that came from. But
so where do you sit today? Have you mended fences? What's the relationship at the moment then?
That's a tough fence to mend, Wade.
Yeah, it's tough to come back from. They get coaches fired off Vol Twitter.
Well,
or not hired, I guess. A better way to say it.
That's a better way to say it.
I think for them, they figured out very quickly that I don't just cover Nebraska, because right after that I wrote about Ole Miss, and then we wrote about Texas Tech, and they're seeing all of these other teams come in, and they've got to be like, oh wait, she covers everyone. So it's gotten quiet now.
For now.
I mean, once Tennessee beats Oklahoma, I'm sure I'm gonna hear something.
You are you sound pretty confident, Maren.
That they're gonna beat Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Judging by how Oklahoma has played so far, and how Tennessee has played so far, Oklahoma's inexperience is showing. They're getting rattled easily. They're dropping pop flies in the outfield that shouldn't be dropped. They're pass balls. They just look like a team who hasn't been there before, and that's basically what they are.
Well, there you go. Well, I mean, I've not been able to watch. Obviously, I've been a little busy since 2:00. But I mean, as long as they've got that crimson and cream on, and as long as Patty Gasso is in that dugout, I kind of feel like you got to drive a stake through their heart, and they've still got what, 5 outs?
Yeah,
to play with here.
It's the bottom of the
fifth. So
yeah.
I mean, they still got time. So, but
there's plenty of time for them to mount a comeback. It's also, I mean, it's Carlin Pickens. I mean, I can't say. I know Vol Twitter thinks I hate Carlin Pickens, but I really don't. It's pretty incredible to watch her throw 76, 77 miles an hour. 78, 79. She's not 80 one of these days.
it is a double elimination tournament. So, I mean, it's not like Oklahoma goes away. They've only got one less loss to work with should this 3-1 score hold up. But, I mean, what are your thoughts about, one, the rest of this first day, and two, where it goes from here?
I'm really excited for the Texas Tech Ole Miss matchup. Both teams, this is their first trip to the Women's College World Series, and then in the nightcap, it's a classic matchup between Oregon and UCLA. So far, I think this World Series is off to a great start. Texas, I wasn't sure how Texas was going to do, to be honest. Their Super Regional Series against Clemson was fantastic, number one. Number two, I probably took a lot out of them. And I was just curious how Tegan Kavan would bounce back, and she bounced back great. I mean, she threw a shutout against a very good hitting team in Florida. So, so far, this Oklahoma-Tennessee game's living up to the hype. And I think this is a good field. And I'm happy to see new teams get in.
With that being said, bring me up to speed at least. Who should be here that's not here? Who maybe we most disappointed by that they're not competing this week?
Liberty. Oh, man, I wanted to see Liberty.
Well, I mean, they were certainly the fan favorite. I guess maybe internally who is really down in the dumps. Thought maybe a team that maybe had a chance. We talked about Texas A&M a couple of times prior, and I mean a team that felt like maybe had the goods to win it all, but is not even out in OKC right now.
I think outside of Texas A&M, you have to look at Arkansas. Losing a super regional at home again, and having the national player of the year on your team and Brie Ellis and her not getting to play at the Women's College World Series is heartbreaking. And I think looking back on the season, you probably want both of those teams there. But hey, any team on any given day, right?
That's why they play the game.
Yeah.
Maren Angus-COOMBS of softball on SI joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I guess Texas Tech got what they paid for, right?
Yeah, they did. It makes me laugh because yes, Nigeri Kennedy is sitting on a pile of money. But but if you pay attention to college softball over the years, then seeing all of these transfers come into Texas Tech with Jerry Glasgow as the head coach should not be surprising. Follow his track record anywhere he's gone, and each year his roster is full of transfers. So it's not surprising to me. They have 3 players on their roster this year who were at Texas Tech last year. So take that for what it's worth. They've got several transfers.
Hey. Scholarships are a 1-year non-renewable agreement.
That's right. I think a lot of people don't know that.
They're learning. But I mean, just because you spend the money doesn't necessarily, I mean, you can look at professional sports on any number of occasions. I mean, it's not always the teams that spend the most that have the most success. I mean, you got to be able to put that thing together. And at some point, there's got to be some chemistry. And I mean, obviously, Kennedy is a transformative talent, but she's not the only one.
No, but when you have a pitcher like that, all you need is a couple runs to win a game. I mean, if you honestly look between her and Carlin Pickens, if you look at what they've done this year, 3 runs wins you a game. Get your have in your lineup a few good hitters that can score a couple of runs, and you're good.
There's been some talk, Maren, as you look at this bracket in Oklahoma City, where you've got 4 of all 4 of the teams on one side of the bracket were seeded 7th or higher. On the other side, the highest seed is number 9 UCLA. You've got an unseeded Ole Miss and 2 double-digit seeds in Texas Tech and Oregon. Will we ever see them reseed once you get the final 8? Should we see?
It's interesting that you asked this question because right before I came on, I was watching the press conference, the Texas press conference, and someone asked Mike White the same question. He's against it.
What did he say?
He is against it. He doesn't think that it needs to be reseeded. He thinks once you reach this point, you are one of the top 8 teams, and and you've got to beat the top 8 team. You got to beat the other 7 to get to win the title. So, I think it's. I like how they've changed the format over the years, where you used to be in that top bracket and your bottom bracket, and there was no crossover, to where they started crossing over for the semifinal, where you played like the winner. It's right before the champion. Look at me, like directing a bracket with my hands right now. So you go through the winner's bracket, but in order to get to that championship game, you have to play the loser from the other bracket. So you do crossover. I like that. But yeah, I don't see them reseeding anytime soon. If anything, I feel like we should be talking about them seeding 1 through 32 rather than 1 through 16 to start the tournament.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting concept as well. So UT leads 3-1. We're in the top of the 6 now. Obviously, you feel a little bit better about them should they pull this thing off. But I know that a lot of ball Twitter fans, UT fans, are kind of concerned about this team's inopportune flameouts in the postseason. They did make it to the Final Four last year before they got knocked out. But there are those that feel like there have been championship caliber Tennessee softball teams that have not fulfilled that potential.
Yeah.
You think this team is a national championship team?
No.
Okay.
I don't think they're a national championship team. I think they're a good team. I think they're really good. I think they deserve to be here. But I don't think I don't think they're going to win the whole thing. I think they're a Final Four team. But I haven't seen enough from the offense. You're gonna get to teams who can hit Carlin Pickens at this point. And Oklahoma's made contact, but to see how they went through the super regional against Nebraska, and yes, the first game was horrendous. And Nebraska got to Pickens early, but the second game to win 3-2, and then the third game to win 1-0. There aren't enough runs being generated to have me say in full confidence, like, oh, this is a national championship worthy team.
Okay. That said, who do you have winning it?
Whew. I went on another show last week and actually said Texas.
Off to a good start.
Off to a good start. They look good so far. But it's just so wide open that honestly, I think Texas Tech has a really good shot of at least being in the final because of the bracket.
The bracket that does not need reseeding. Okay.
Well, either way, they'd be in that bottom. They'd be in the bottom. Well, I don't know. Now that I think about it, where would they be?
It seems like it would be, well, it's tough to say.
And
would
how do
they
you
be in with Oklahoma, Florida, and I don't know.
So we're saying it would be 1 versus Ole Miss. So Ole Miss should have played Oklahoma. Right? They should have played Oklahoma, and then 2 would have been Texas or Florida.
No, Florida
so
was a 3 seed.
You're right. So Florida would have been played Texas
Oregon.
Tech or Oregon. Yeah.
Oregon.
Texas would have played. Oh, Texas would have
played UCLA.
Was Texas Tech above UCLA? No.
Yeah. No,
Really?
Tech is a 12 and UCLA is a 9.
So Tech would have played Texas, right?
I don't know, and we don't have time to figure it out. We will revisit this. We just got out ahead of my pay scale there. One thing I want to ask you before we get away, though, and we're running short on time, but you mentioned the portal. Tennessee, for a team that's in Oklahoma City, has been awfully busy this week. the two-way player from Eastern Kentucky, Maddie Rutan, and a couple, not one, but two from Boise State. The second one earlier today, I think. I mean, how are they doing that?
Honestly, I don't know, and I keep texting for answers, and no one's texting me back. So
because they're busy.
Well, you know what? Clearly, they're not busy enough. I'd floated an idea across to my team a couple days ago, because as we were putting stories out in Super Regional Weekend about teams, Mackenzie Butt from Boise State only liked our tweets about Tennessee. And so I knew then she was going to be a lady ball. I did not see Sophia Knight to Tennessee happening. And I didn't see Maddie Rutan to Tennessee happening either. So I think all three are great pickups. I will be very anxious to see how the three of them take their mid-major game and translate it to the SEC. I think it's one thing to be a great player at Eastern Kentucky, but are you going to be a good player at Tennessee? That we don't know. And, you know, she is a pitcher. How much pitching time is she really going to get?
Well, and I wonder, because again, she's allegedly, apparently a two-way player, or has been a two-way player at Eastern Kentucky. Is she going to be a two-way player in the Southeastern Conference?
It's yet to be seen. I mean, we'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it. I don't. There are some coaches who truly don't believe in pitchers hitting for themselves. And if she's not one of the top 9 hitters on the team, she's not going to hit for herself. So she's got a lot to prove.
But it certainly looks good. Again,
oh yeah.
Women's College World Series team getting 3 transfers out of the portal within like 48 hours of making their opener in the WCWS. So, you know, stay tuned. I'm sure they're not through. MAREN Angus-COOMBS of Softball on SI joining us here on Main Street Sports today. MAREN, we appreciate you spending some time with us, and we will, between us, figure out how this would have been reseeded, and we'll know by the time we talk again.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Little homework.
Yeah, exactly.
Is this my homework assignment or Mo's?
Yes,
50-50.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Equal
bring yours
assignment.
back, I'll bring mine back, and we'll compare notes. How's that?
Okay.
All right. Thank you, MAREN. Hey, we are going to roll past this stop sign that is the final break of the show and get into the grab bag. Let's start. Well, first of all, Atlanta lost to Philadelphia 5-4. Go ahead run was at second base. They had the bases loaded when Eli White struck out to end the game. So game 2 is at 5:45. Nashville Soccer Club remains unbeaten through their last 9 after a 2-2 draw against the Columbus Crew last night. We talked a little bit about it in the rundown, but you know, Wade, again, getting 1 on the road isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, it could have been worse. They had all 3 right there for the taking, but a little tough luck. Palacios kind of in wrong place, wrong time, late own goal, kind of doomed them. But grabbing a point on the road, it was kind of a playoff caliber result. It was kind of a playoff caliber atmosphere. That is a tough building to go in. They got a ton of history up there, so could have been worse. And we saw Zimmerman come on at halftime. That was the most he has played in a match since going back to like April 5th, April 6th. So kind of things still trending okay for Nashville. And they got one more coming up at the weekend here. And then they get a couple weeks off, a nice little 2-week break to kind of really get their feet underneath them, because this has been a jam-packed month of May in terms of their calendar.
Yeah, they could use a little breather, I would imagine. But yeah, nice to get 1 there, like you said. Wade, you are way more into soccer than I am. How embarrassing is an own goal at that level? I mean, or is it?
It kind of just depends. I mean, if sometimes you just literally, there's nothing you can do. If you just are in the wrong place, wrong time, I mean, that's just tough luck. Sometimes you're in the wrong place and it wasn't the wrong time. You just happen to be totally out of position and everybody's looking at you like, what in the hell was that about? So it's embarrassing to say the least. There ain't no doubt about it. But sometimes kind of unavoidable, just kind of in the run of play. Especially when things kind of start pinging and ponging kind of around. And Palacios, he had deflected one off the post, kind of a weird carom, so to speak. Tough break for him. He played pretty well otherwise. Seems like NSC played pretty well otherwise. And again, going on the road and scoring early, Surge takes the crowd out of it for Columbus early, scoring in the second minute. But you knew Columbus would claw back. They did. Then Mukhtar got one in the second half. You thinking maybe going to get the win, had to settle for the single point, 2-2. Not a bad result in the grand scheme of things.
Right. Bad result for the Timberwolves. 124-94, they go out. Oklahoma City finishes them off in game 5. And this thing was ugly. I think it got up to 40-something at one point before settling in there at 30 to finish.
Yeah, I mean, it was borderline Memphis Grizzlies territory for a little bit there. The Thunder were pouring it on. They came out and did exactly what they were supposed to do and kind of did what they have done to a lot of teams outside of Denver this year. Kind of systematic destruction. And, again, when you only give up 9 points in the first quarter, that kind of tells you all you need to know. And that goes for Minnesota and OKC. OKC held them to 9 points, and Minnesota never was in this game. They emptied the bench. OKC just continues on this insane run, and the kids just continue to kind of blossom right before our very eyes. And anything less than a championship now, they've summited the first part of the mountain. Now let's see if they can finish the job here starting next Thursday.
In all likelihood, it'll be against the Pacers that they try to do so. Indiana goes for the throat tonight at Madison Square Garden against the Knicks. Pacers lead that series 3-1.
Yeah, I saw some chatter on the web. They call these games the Tibb games because when the team runs out of gas, they run out of gas, and it seems like his teams get eliminated in 5 games a lot. Feels like a gentleman's sweep is in order. Indiana, maybe, I'll be kind of curious. We saw Neesmith with some great minutes still, but the real big issue will be the injury to Karl Anthony Towns that you mentioned yesterday. And so he's listed still as questionable. If he doesn't go, obviously that seems like a disastrous situation for a team that barely plays more than 7 or 8 guys anyway. But maybe they rally some magic and use the Garden to their advantage tonight. But I feel like it'd be tough. I want this to go 7 because we'll have a full week off until the finals begin next week if Indiana finishes it out tonight. And it feels to me like they will.
Yeah. Florida finishes off Carolina in 5 with a 5-3 win in the Eastern Finals of the NHL. Edmonton looking to do likewise at Dallas tonight. They lead that series 3-1.
It's going to be fun tonight. This is the last gasp. Didn't feel when Carolina won and, snapped that 15-game losing streak in the conference finals. Didn't feel like they would have enough gas to push beyond, and we saw what happened last night. It feels like if Dallas can somehow eke out a win this evening, they might not be dead yet. So I'll be tuned in. That'll be a fun one this evening at 7.
LSU Shreveport improves to 57-0 at the NAIA World Series with a 10-0 win over Southeastern. They play tonight against Hope International, defeated Hope 6-3 on Memorial Day. We'll keep an eye on that. Tennessee Wesleyan also out after losing to Georgia Gwinnett 5-3 yesterday. That's going to do it here on Main Street Sports today. We will see y'all tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Join us.